First week of May, basically. It's May 7th, 2021. I'm about to let everybody know that we are live so that we can get this fired off. And tonight's topic is representation. Representation now, no more negotiating, point blank. I am not playing or mincing words with this. We are in a day and age where there are still plenty of people around the globe that don't feel properly represented. And we have the default setting types who keep trying to push back against any inclusivity. So I'm going to talk about that tonight, both the positives of inclusivity and some of the negative things trying to keep us from having the diversity that we deserve in all aspects of life. Um, One of the things that I'm definitely going to talk about without giving too many spoilers as well is Pose. Pose is one of my favorite shows, and I've been watching it since season one. It's in its final season, so I want to definitely touch upon how groundbreaking it was. And hey, Silent! It's nice to see you. This is my moderator, Silent Irate. It is nice to see you. I know things have been busy, so I tell people all the time, that's another reason why I upload these to YouTube, that, as much as I appreciate y'all making it into a live, it helps just you being around, period. And today was kind of a rough day. I was supposed to do a stream earlier with Axiom to get gaming stuff done, and nothing wanted to work. And then Bungie decided to do middle of the day maintenance, so that was axed out. And I had to end my subscription based podcast on Anchor FM because they're basically holding all the money that I made with them hostage. So it's been one of those weeks where my head hurts, I'm tired, and I'm just glad it's Friday. And fortunately for me, because you guys have been awesome, and like I've been slowly building, friendships on Twitter, I've been slowly building up stuff here on Twitch, and I'm only a couple of hours away from hitting the goals they need to be an affiliate, which means I can start getting subscriptions to this cast pretty soon too. So I'm excited about that. It's not going to be a mandatory thing either. If I do get to the point where I can add subscriptions, I don't want people feeling obligated to do it. Just like I'm not gonna purposely opt into whatever tip jar thing Twitter's doing. No offense to the whole tip jar thing. I know there are people that like the stuff people tweet and want to help them out. I just see where it could be a slippery slope, and I think I'm going to avoid it. I already put my PayPal link in my bio on Twitter for those who kept insisting for it, but even that makes me feel uncomfortable. So I don't know, it's just me. But when I do get to the point where I can subscribe, I'm just letting you guys know that it's not an obligation. If you don't have it, don't spend it. The best thing we can do until this country is back where it needs to be, especially economic wise, is to spend wisely and don't waste money that we don't have. I'm going to be all right. I make sure my bills are paid. I no longer have a whole ass adult to have to worry about and take care of. It's just me and my son for now. So we'll be all right. And I appreciate all of you who have constantly supported my work, period. I just want us all to be in a place where we're not hurting. Now, to get to the main topic of this cast, the whole representation now is so important because I'm feeling this pushback. And I'm sure I'm not the only one who has felt it from people who are used to seeing themselves in entertainment, who are used to hearing their voices being spoke to, even though the news tries to tell us that, oh, these people don't feel heard. Yeah, but you're writing about them every day. You're talking about their issues. You're calling their tyranny economic anxiety and trying to sell us this garbage that they're just somehow worried about their ends. So they decide to storm our Capitol wearing pro-Auschwitz shirts. It's bigotry. It's insanity. And it is so sickening to watch these people get afforded this treason and all these bylines about how, oh, it's Fox that made me do it. I read something earlier. Exactly, Silent. It is gaslighting. This guy on trial because he's an insurrectionist. Oh, I was bewildered by Fox News. And like I said, let him sue Fox News from jail. There's no reason why that network can't be held accountable along with these bozos, but they need accountability because my people are still not afforded due process, even though we are legalized citizens of this nation. We can be gunned down arbitrarily, but these people who are majorly represented in every aspect of our society can claim that they're not responsible for their actions because they watch too much Fox News. It is so frustrating. Exactly. It doesn't stop them from believing all the QAnon bullcrap. It doesn't stop them from believing that their guy didn't lose somehow, even though the votes tallied just that. You can't keep passing the buck of your own actions off on somebody. And that is where proper representation comes, because I was taught from an early age, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, that your actions have consequences. I was also taught, being the non-default set and being one of the hardest life set-ins as a black woman, that you might have to take shit that you didn't even do, because that's just how society is. You're going to get it from left, right, in between, simply for existing. So it bothers me when somebody does something, commits an act, does something criminal, and gets away with it. Case in point, this morning, a young girl in Idaho decided to make the conscious decision to go shoot up her school. She was taken in alive, so I don't have to tell you the demographic she is. Now, these same people will twist themselves into pretzels to justify why that young lady could be taken in alive, even though she was clearly a threat. She had a weapon, a gun that could kill a bunch of people, which was her intention. She's still breathing. A 16-year-old black child who is fighting for her literal life because she was placed in a home where, instead of talking to her like a normal parent would a teenager who has cleaning issues. I'm a mom. My son has cleaning issues. Every teenager does. What I'm not going to do is get a whole bunch of adults to come fight him. That was the issue that Makia was put in. And what did she get for all of that trouble that she was already living under? 4 fucking bullets in her from the one person who should have been able to disarm her and calm down the situation. And so many of you had so many excuses why that child, that 16-year-old child with just a knife trying to protect the last vestige of her life, deserved to be killed. This is why we need proper representation, not just judicially, but in every aspect. Because if we had lawmakers that will hold these fuckers accountable when they see our skin is just a little bit more dangerous or a little bit less than, so that people don't think it's a big deal when you fucking take a 16-year-old's life, versus some little fucking idiot in Idaho who probably got her hands on her parents' weapons and was intentionally going to kill people. She's still okay. And you can't fucking rationalize one and dismiss the other. But that is what we do. Because in our society, we have allowed the constant narrative that anybody who is not a straight, cisgendered, white male is less than. And it's got to stop. We need equality. We need to see our faces everywhere. We need to feel like we are all viable human beings. But instead, we keep giving garbage trash bags like Rose McGowan, of all people, and platform to spread hatred. And why the heck are people still even amplifying that woman? What has she done in the last few years besides give off the wall interviews on right wing media, because most people who aren't right wing don't even want to think about her, to spread this poisonous, not really feminist view about life. She centers only herself. She takes causes that have nothing to do with her and somehow twist it. And then the Democrats are supposedly her enemy, but you know, last I checked, it's not the Democrats trying to restrict your ability to body autonomy. It's not the Democrats trying to tell you where you can vote, how you can vote. No. But they give her this amplification to say all these asinine things because she's supposedly a celebrity. What has she done, and why are we still listening to her? As far as I'm concerned, you can't cancel what really was never anyway. And I can't name anything besides, was she on Charmed? I don't even remember what the heck she did. Let's just stop talking about Miss McGowan. All she does is spread poison and bigotry. She wants to call it canceled? Let her. Let's just call it what I like to call it. You can't cancel what never was, and she's a never was, as far as I'm concerned. I'm sick of seeing my trans sisters and trans brothers erased by bigots like that. I'm sick of people talking about bio women when human physiology and human biology is not as cut and dry as we try to make it. Just basic biology tells you that the human body, no one human outside perfectly identical twins, which are a very rare condition in itself, are exactly alike. And the body does different things based on who you are. And sexuality and gender are not as cut and dry as people try to make it either. And instead of trying to learn and become more knowledgeable about that stuff, we allow our fears of, well, what if I'm deemed weird? Or what if this is deemed weird? Or what if I don't understand this? Rule. This is where representation can help, because more people understanding that the whole identity of male, female, intersex, transgender, binary, non-binary has the right to be. And just because you don't personally understand it or aren't going through it does not invalidate the people who are. If we have more positive representation in our society, in our entertainment, in our government, we could probably get somewhere as a person. But it is so frustrating. I love it. I tell people all the time, I'm definitely a cat trapped in a human body. But I really need people to understand that there is just too many people still in this day and age who use they don't understand it, so they would rather fear and attack it way of life. And I'm done negotiating for representation. Now, I started out the show talking about my favorite show, Pose. And one of the things that drew me in to Pose, not just the music, but the stories of the gay and lesbian scene back in the 80s and the 90s with the balls. Because this was how a lot of people in New York lived. You didn't have a set, stable home. So we all had to live together, supporting each other. Now, I didn't do it in New York. I didn't start living with friends in like a communal type setting until I got to Florida. So that was where my understanding came from the South, doing that communal living. But seeing the way it was done in the North didn't surprise me, because you had to live that way. Who was going to hire you when the whole freaking country was deeming your lifestyle morally wrong? You had Reagan going on about how the AIDS virus was something from God and all this other pseudo-religious bullshit to shun fellow human beings from kindness and empathy and understanding. And from like episode 1, Pose gut punched you with how it was hard for these people to exist in a world that treated you like you were some kind of freak. Like, just the pain of watching a black parent not only physically harm their child for coming out to them, but throwing them out into the street, them struggling with, do I have to sell myself to survive? And this is the kind of shit that's still going on, because instead of loving our family and our friends who are going through this, we choose to not understand what they're going through. And it has to stop. It boggles my mind in this day and age with all the tools at our fingertips to learn about each other, to learn about what's out there. We still cling to ignorance and harming each other based on what we don't know. And it saddens me that Pose is coming to an end this season, but I know, even though I felt like the first two episodes rushed a lot of the story, that it's going to be good, because it was just a good show to pull you in. And that's right, Capricorn. It really was. And I'm not acting like this day and age is so much better. For every mile we've made for LGBT causes, there are still states passing asinine laws that are going to invade not only the dignity and privacy of transgender kids by insulting them if they dare want to participate in sports, or if they decide to use a bathroom. But you've got states literally still trying to allow businesses and other places, including medical places, to discriminate against the LGBT. So we have to keep on making sure that all of our voices are heard, that we are all represented. Because when we sleep on our trans and our LGBT complete family, it's not that far from our rights being taken. And if you're a woman, and I need you to hear this, that thinks just because you were born physiological wise with a uterus and supposedly a bio woman, that somehow makes you better than our trans sisters, fuck off. I'm not even going to put it nicely. I don't like TERFs. Because all this crap you talk about standing up for women, when you don't understand what it means to be a woman, obviously. The fact that our trans sisters are going through all the shit they're going through, their lives are on the line, just like ours are. And you can turn your back because you think that they're not biologically woman enough? Nah, fuck off. I don't want to know you. I don't want to be friends with you. I don't want you in my circle, because I don't have time for non-inclusive bullshit, which is what y'all push way too much. And if you are trans and you're watching this and you're hearing this, you are not less than. And I will not stop saying that. You are not less than if you're a trans man, because a lot of times you go completely voiceless in the conversation. People just leave y'all completely out of the conversation completely. And you are definitely not less than if you're a trans woman. If you are LGBT complete, or just L and the G, you are not less than. And you shouldn't have to have me saying this, but I'm not going to stop saying it until you understand that I see you. I don't play those games where, oh, I just don't think about it. No, I think about the fact that you are being targeted by legislation. Just like I think about my family who's constantly targeted by hate in this country and globally. It's time that we stand together and put a stop to this. Because the people who are considered the default, they don't care. They're comfortable. They're not judged by society as different. They're not looked to by society as other. So it's up to us who have known this pain to be together and have each other's backs on this. Because obviously, nobody else is going to stand up for us. And if you're black and you're listening to this and you're getting snarky and you want to quote Bibles, y'all can miss me with that too. Because I made it clear in my rant against the bigot who decided to hit me up on Twitch about the gays ruining this society. If your marketing strategy for the afterlife is this country club where the majority of the people that I love and care about will be excluded for being who they are, you're not signing me up for your faith. at all. There is no appeal to me whatsoever to be around the same bigots that I've spent most of this life enduring in an afterlife. Where in my right mind would I want to deal with that for an afterlife? Why would I want to spend the eternity with a bunch of bigots when I'm already suffering with y'all on here? How is that appealing? And that's what I want people who are in that realm of marginalized to understand when people tell us, oh, you're going to burn. If the other place is filled with my friends and the people I love like family, simply because they're different, I'd rather be with them. And I'm making that clear. Because your place of paradise wouldn't be paradise for me. Judgmental, asinine people who barely see me as a human being, who question everybody else who doesn't act like them, and you think I want to spend an eternity like that? Get the fuck out of here. Come on now. What is that? I can't even imagine saying, oh yeah, sign me up for an afterlife like that. I mean, wow, that religion sure does make me feel whole, as it tells me that anything I believe in is just wrong and my gender just makes me less than. Nah. You've got to realize, those of you who are trying your best to represent faith properly, that there are way too many loud ass, wrong ass mouthpieces that are pushing people away from faith with this nonsense. Because when you treat religion as a country club instead of a life guide, you push good people away and you only bring in ignorance and people who don't want to use the word or whatever you believe in for proper things. So y'all can go on hating and talking about your eternal paradise. I'm starting to see that if that is the only thing you've got going for why I should join your little bandwagon, I think I'm going to stay on the witchy side of things. Exactly, Capricorn, and exactly, Silent. I honestly don't think they understand that it is not an appealing tactic at all. I feel like people don't get that when you grow up, especially around people who you love. Like, my first experience with a transgender woman was my hairdresser in New York. She was basically a family hairdresser that lived right next door. She took over the house from the neighbor who lived there for a while, and I think he passed of AIDS. And I never thought anything of her life before she became a woman. Now, I went to school with her family, and some of them horribly misgendered her on purpose because they remembered her before she transitioned. And I can't imagine what that was like for her. Constantly having your family call you by your own name, constantly having your family be that abusive towards you because they didn't want to understand who you were. And let me tell you, homegirl hooked my hair up, and she was fun to hang out with. And I tell people all the time, when you're just used to treating people the way they want to be treated and the way you would want to be treated, it really ain't that hard. Calling her by the name she wanted to be called, treating her like the woman she was, didn't take any effort from me. So it bothers me that people waste so much effort and energy in being hateful and not wanting to do this. Why do you hold on to something that they did not relate to? Why do we put that on our kids? Why do we put that on our family? It serves no purpose except for selfishness to try to force them into something that they have no connection to. And when they finally get the strength, because it takes strength to be yourself in this world, especially in a world where it can snuff you out, to say, this is who I am, accept me, and to have the people that should have your back turn their back on you. A heartbreak So I need people, if you're going to listen to this or share this with somebody in your life, to understand that you need to let go of whatever hangups you have about this. It is not a reflection on you. And even if it was, it's not a bad reflection. It's like these idiots who used to come out against autism, of all things, acting like it was somehow a bad trait or flaw, instead of realizing that it is just a neurological, different way of processing things in life. We spent so much of kiddos' life navigating such ignorant takes on it until people started to really study it and understand that our kids aren't just troublesome or problems, and it's not the end of the world. But it's constantly like this with our species. Instead of trying to learn and open our minds to stuff, it is so easy to go to the worst and have the worst thought process on these things. And that is why we need more open dialogue. We need more things that show everybody's life, positive and negative, because I feel like a lot of people think representation means only showing the best of the best, and that's not realistic. We need to understand that bad people come in every walk of life, every way, shape, or form. It's one of the reasons why I like Pose, because they weave the story in such a way that even the people that you start out liking, you might end up not liking them because they're human beings. They're going to mess up. They're going to show their nasty side. And then the people who you started out not really liking, Miss Electra calling you out, hated you at first, now you're my favorite character on that show because she grew. She went from just being only about herself to actually caring. And I think that happens to a lot of us. You go through these metamorphoses as a person where the positive and negative things in your life shape you. And you get to a point where you're either going to be one way, the other, or sometimes somewhere in the middle, but you show traits of everything that's happened to you. One of the things that I've always feared was all the crap that I went through growing up, and some of the bad things I went through relationship-wise would manifest itself. That's why I'm constantly working on how I interact with people. I try to make sure I'm not manipulating people. I try to limit when I'm insulting people. I try to be a better person. It is a constant work in progress. And exactly, stuff does happen. But the thing is, I know I'm going to stumble. I know I'm going to mess up because I know how I get when I'm angry. I know how easy it is for me to twist the knife if I'm feeling petty. That's why I walk away from a lot of situations. And I say this almost every other week on Twitter, especially. There are plenty of conversations that I will lurk, read, and think, I have an opinion on it. But it is between people that have nothing to do with me and a subject that I really shouldn't be weighing in. So I mind my business, because minding my business and shutting the fuck up is 100% free. And a lot of y'all need to learn this. Yeah, I know that social media is supposed to be an open forum, but not everybody needs your well actually or your garbage take on their life. I seen the other day something that I really thought I could weigh in on, but it wasn't about me. It was about a faith and what's going on in the country overseas. And I do follow a lot of overseas politics, whether it's in the Middle East, whether it's in the Philippines, where some of my family's from. I like keeping track of what's going on in our world when I'm not keeping track of the blood tax that keeps taking the people here. But I realize that I can read, I can have an opinion, but it crosses a line when I step into something that I don't have a dime in that quarter. So I don't have to share my thoughts on it. Now, if somebody comes out and tags me and says, 10, what do you think about this? And it's not an invite, please don't do that. I need to preface that. Please do not tag me in to any conversation that doesn't deal with black people, because like I'm really trying to stress a point here, and I realize as I said that it might open up people to go, well, maybe we should get her opinion. No, don't do that. But back to it. I see stuff, and sometimes I think I could weigh in on this and just voice what I think, but is it going to harm or hurt? Does it look like I'm taking a side in a conflict that I really don't particularly have any viable side or choice that I want to jump in on this? I'd rather just stay out of it. And some of us need to learn when to stay out of shit. Just like some of us need to learn to stop amplifying garbage, stop retweeting grifters, but it's a process. And as many people as I get a day realizing that you don't have to argue with people, you don't have to amplify the Bernie brats or the idiots who grift. There are still some of you that like doing that. So I'm going to leave it alone. I'm team mind my own business and shut the fuck up, because like I said, it is 100% free and it's a lot less stressful than inserting myself in every situation that's on social media. I don't see how some of you do it. It exhausts me just reading it. So I can't imagine jumping in the middle of that and arguing back and forth when nobody's really there to listen anyway. People are just wanting to be right. So it's just like, I rather not do that. What did you say? I always cut. I do not always cut you off. But it's just like, I wanted to not get pulled into stuff. And I realized as I said that, it was like 10, my brain record skip. Like, what are you doing? Don't give people the invitation to pull you into their fights. Because I just spent the last 2 years telling people, y'all do you. I'm not jumping in the middle of this. Because sometimes I will watch two people completely miss each other's point. And sometimes they even agree with each other, but somebody read something wrong. And they go back and forth for like a whole ass thread, just arguing with each other. And it's like, you know what? Y'all need reading comprehension skills and a timeout. And I've watched mutuals block each other and argue with each other and go on this whole, if you're not with me, you're against me bullcrap. And you know what? I'm not letting anybody tell me who I can talk to on social media, nor am I telling anybody who's a mutual who to block. Now, if somebody wants to start beef with me and I call them out, all fair game. It's happened before. It's going to happen again. It's a big area full of people with way too many opinions and too much time on their hands. But I limit all of that if I can. Unless they're an obvious troll, which even then, I don't like amplifying them. I just like blocking them so I don't have to waste my timeline space with them. But it is very rare now that I will even retweet somebody I block, because I don't need people jumping on the bandwagon. But if it's a mutual and I have a problem with something that's said or something that's done, I like to think of the people, especially that I follow back on Twitter, as people that I dialogue with. So I would rather take it to them directly and say my piece and try to handle it as adults than to do this nonsense of having a whole bunch of people pile on them. I don't consider my friends attack dogs. And some of y'all need to unlearn that mentality. It's nice to have your friends have your back in certain situations, but this is not junior high school and high school in New York. I don't want to be in fights all the damn time anymore. That was my life as a child and a teenager. I don't need that in my 40s. It's not fun. So if that's how you want to play social media, the whole high school clique thing, more power to you. Leave me the heck out of it. I'm exhausted. And I know I'm not the only one. And while things are getting slowly better for us as a country, there are still a lot of bad things going on that I would really like to focus and pay attention to. So you fighting over something said that wasn't said, or somebody looked at you funny. enjoy that. Just leave me the fuck out of it, because I really am done. They don't silent. It makes no sense to me. I've seen it so many times. Somebody has taken somebody else's opinion and decided to be whole ass offended by it. And it's just like, it's easy to just keep it moving. I do not agree with everybody I know. I think that is theoretically impossible. There's going to be stuff I say that people don't agree with. And it's okay. I know that my opinions were shaped by my upbringing. And I'm not always going to say stuff that people are going to understand or even comprehend or agree with. That's just the way life is. I follow a lot of very highly opinionated people. I don't always agree with them. And when I don't, I just don't even acknowledge the stuff they put out there. Because I know sometimes they do shit to stir stuff up. I don't have to amplify it. I don't have to argue with it. I just let them do them, and then I keep it moving. It really is that easy. It really is a lot better for your mental health as well. You know? I understand more than you think. I just ignore it because you give me a headache. Let's be 100% about that, dear. You tend to like to say stuff just to make my head hurt, and I tend to, for my own sanity, just mentally block it out. I think both of us can agree that it works. You know, I love your screen name on Twitter. I love your avatar too. When you first met me on Twitter, Capricorn, I was like, it's bitch pudding. And Axiom can tell you that is my favorite character of all time. But it's just, I wanted tonight to be lighthearted, especially after the day I had, because of the fact that things shouldn't be feeling heavy right now. But even talking about representation feels heavy because there are just so many people out there in our country and globally that still feel voiceless, really voiceless. And I don't mean media crafted, I'm not getting my voice heard, even though every pundit talks about my woes. Every newspaper article is about my economic anxiety. I'm talking about people who are literally existing on this planet who are never talked about. You never see movies focused on them. You never see TV shows that highlight their lives without it being groundbreaking, because it's not the norm. I love this one art piece, and I was trying to find it before the show so I can highlight it, but instead I found this awesome cartoon where it says, young white girl says to a black girl, why do you draw so many black characters? And because no one else will. And it's the truth. As somebody who loves comic books, as somebody who's loved all forms of like entertainment, hey Ziana, it's hard seeing how far we've come, but still, as a dark-skinned black woman, how far we need to go to have proper representation in entertainment without being the tropes that they have for us. The jealous ex or the angry black woman. You know, it's still every step we've made towards positive representation, such as Homegirl from the Dora Milaje. We still face not being viewed as anything but second string, not being the leaders of our own stories. And I am really getting tired of this whole fascination with our past and what our ancestors went through. I seen an ad on Amazon yet again highlighting those days. And while I don't want our past erased, this is why I support things like the 1619 Project. I am tired of seeing entertainment push the whole slave aspects of our history over and over and over again. It's like super saturated at this point. And it's never told right. It's always told from the perspective of somebody whose ancestors more than likely owned mine instead of our stories. So I'm over constantly seeing these new crops of takes on slavery and the Underground Railroad and stuff like that. Why aren't there more stories back then of how families survived Jim Crow? Why aren't there more stories about families that did the civil rights movement? Why aren't there shows that really touch upon what it's been like to be black in this country after we were released from that bondage? And it's because writers like that don't get a shot in Hollywood. Very rarely. We have to be funny or entertainment in a way that doesn't make them uncomfortable. And that has to stop. If we are going to see less of these slave narrative shows constantly, and they're affecting the streaming system. I get why network TV is still not where it needs to be. You know, that's all owned and ran by old white people. So, of course, we can't talk to them about new and innovative. But when I see shows on Amazon and Netflix who should be better at this, I'm really scared at where diversity isn't going in this day and age. When we have people rallying against the first Asian female to take home a Best Picture Oscar, when last year people were upset about Parasite winning Best Picture instead of understanding it was just that good of a movie. When you've got so many people who are used to being the default setting constantly rallying against anything that's deemed different, that is when you know we need representation. Because we've had it for far too long where these people have seen only themselves, so they can't make room for the rest of us. And that is unacceptable. And I am tired of the only way we get in is to be innovative in a way that interests them. Because it's like I said, I would watch a show about surviving in a constantly changing country over watching my people and watching good fucking actresses and actors once again play slaves. Why? Why do you think that's the only part of our history that needs to be told through entertainment? Come on now. I mean, there's nothing else. I look at Bridgerton. I look at all those memes y'all be putting out there, that one homeboy, especially the spoon lick thing. Y'all hit me with that one morning. I was like, whoa. I don't normally go for like anything erotic anyway because I'm a weirdo like that. I just try to leave that alone. But dude licked the spoon like he was licking a female, and I was kind of like, wow. So I could see where in the right hands with the right writers, you can create whole diverse historical type shows that don't have to go so far out of showing people of different backgrounds, because we all did exist together, you know. But we still have execs in these rooms that they just don't get it. And it takes getting more women into these rooms. It takes getting more women of color, especially, into these rooms. And especially black women. Because some of y'all don't listen to us unless we're calling shots. And even then, I look at how they did Shonda Rhimes dirty at Disney, of all places. You're going to tell me this woman who's bringing you freaking millions of dollars wasn't worth a Disney pass? Come on, don't be dumb now. Pay us what we deserve. Let us bring you diverse, good entertainment. Shut up and get paid. It really is that simple. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a writer, but it will help as a writer if the doors aren't having to constantly be forced open for actual inclusive and diverse work. It shouldn't be groundbreaking to write stories that include Black people and Hispanic people and Asian people and LGBT as normal characters. It's not groundbreaking to write about everyday human people. But we make it that way because we have set our society as white people, straight white people especially, and everybody else. And we have to stop that. We have to even things out. We have to get that balance and representation, because until we do, things are going to keep teetering and toppling over. It can't be sustained when only one demographic feels viable and important, and everybody else is just fighting and clawing to even try to be number two. And we end up leaving each other behind doing that. It's not a sustainable lifestyle. It's not a sustainable society. And we have to work on ourselves. We have to stop allowing entertainment to tell us that this is the only way to tell Black people in the past. We have to stop allowing award shows to only award supposed innovative entertainment, but nothing that nobody's watched. I don't even watch award shows anymore because they never award the stuff that I find entertainment in the first place. And second of all, I don't even hear of half of this crap until after people are already arguing about it on social media. I mean, honestly, when was the last time any of y'all really sat through the Oscars and knew every movie they were nominating? Because I can tell you right now, I probably didn't watch any of the nominees from this year. And the only one I watched from last year was Parasite. Because I was on a big time. I watched Train to Busan, and I watched Return to Superman, which is one of my favorite Korean shows, almost every other day because I'm trying to get caught up, with that show. And I don't watch K-dramas, unfortunately. I've never been into like soap operas, and most of their stuff is formulaic. But I love that show where the dads, celebrity dads at that, take their kids for a couple of days while the mom are off retreating and stuff. It's precious. And I wish that we had enough of an open place where people could watch shows like that no matter where they lived. That's the world I'd like to see, where we can watch shows no matter where we are without having to worry about that stuff. But we're not going to get there when people are still like, oh, this is different. They're not speaking the same language as me. And instead of using the apps and other things that I could use to learn a different language and expand my horizons, I would rather be mad. Like I said last week, what has being angry and hateful done for you? Exactly. How has it bettered your life to stay stagnant and not learn about other cultures and other ways of life? Because I don't see it really doing anything for you. A lot of hateful people really rapidly age. You can tell that it's just seeping out of their pores. I just don't get it. Train to Busan 2 was just weird. I think they should have just left it with the way 1 ended. I don't understand why they need sequels to some of these movies. I get cash cows, but that sequel was not it. The first one was good, though. But I just don't understand the entertainment business. For all the money that they pumped into that horrible sequel, they probably could have gotten a nice independent horror person to highlight a whole new work. Because the horror franchise has been tired for me. It is so rare now for me to even jones for a horror movie, because it's like the sixth installment of a crap series that I wasn't into from the first movie, that it's not even funny. And we need more diversity. I'm sick of the same problematic horror tropes of the final girl. I mean, even when they do the final guy, it's still written in a way that it's just like, I don't care about these characters enough. You could legit kill them all off, and I'm rooting for the bad guy at this point. And I would like to see more of that, where you are legitimately rooting for the horror antagonist. Because sometimes they make the antagonist way better than the protagonist in these stories. It was like Final Destination. That was one of the only things I liked about the whole concept of Final Destination, is that the antagonist was death itself. And while it was nothing but gore porn for its series. The whole concept of you cannot cheat death. You can try to sidestep it, you can delay it, but it is coming for you. That messed with me. That is the whole reason I like that series. Because some of the acting was cheesy as heck. Some of the deaths made me laugh, which I don't think they were going for, but I had to laugh. They were freaking funny. It was just the core concept that you cannot escape death that made that series okay with me. And there were other series that started out strong, queasily, but just fell off, like the Hostel series. I am not big on torture, and I am not big on destroying women because violence against women isn't taken seriously enough as it is. But what the Hostel series did right with the first movie for me was it showed just how dumb and arrogant some of us are when we go into other countries, and how you need to be smarter with who you talk to and who you're willing to hang out with to have some fun. And then they just kept bleeding that dry, literally. And yeah, they oversaturated it, and it became such a gimmick, Capricorn, that it was hard to enjoy the series. But I'll tell you, the last one, the supposed final destination, even though now I know that they probably got another one coming out, I like the way they tied it in. And I think if they had just really ended the franchise with that, it would be an A series. Not an A plus, but definitely an A series. But just like everything, they have to keep milking it. And I don't know. I just don't get it. I feel like they take something that had a moderate amount of success, and instead of saying, okay, let's see what else people got, they just hold on like a death grip. We can make this better. We can put out the same formula with different actors and different scenarios, but kind of similar, and get people in the seat. It's why I'm not excited about Spiral. I feel like the Saw franchise should have stopped at least 5 series ago. And I'm being generous because 3 was my falling off point. The problem with Saw is once you kill the heart of the story for me, which was John Kramer, there was literally no reason to watch it, because you took him, you took the person we were kind of rooting for to take over from him away, and then you left us with the crazy murder cop guy. And I don't want to root for the crazy murder cop guy. I don't care what his motivations were to start becoming Jigsaw. He was not a likable character, and I didn't care about him. You didn't build an emotional attachment to him. And it's nothing against Constance Mandalore, you know. Of course, I hate his face now because every time I see him, I think there's the murder cop guy. But I feel like the series did not do his character justice, did not do the series justice, and they had to keep bringing John's character back in flashbacks because they realized we really dug ourselves into a hole with this. It is not interesting when the whole heart of the series is laying on the slab in an autopsy table because you've written yourself into a corner. And then you had to keep bringing him back because you knew he was the reason why people wanted to see this story. And it just bothers me that they're not getting this. And as interesting as it is to see Chris Rock and Samuel L. Jackson team up, I'm going to wait until Spiral is free to watch. And just not because I don't want to get the brothers their ends. I'm just done with this series. I feel like there is nothing the Jigsaw story could bring without a full reboot. And even that, I don't have it in me for a full reboot because I just don't think it's going to have the same magic as it had. And it's sad because it was a good series. It pulled me in, the first Saw. I loved the twist ending. I loved the whole concept. I was a part of the forums for years putting together like theories on how things were tied in. And yeah, I was that nerd. I'm not ashamed of that. I loved that series that much. But around 4, I was like, why am I still watching this? By 5, I was just disgusted with myself. 6, I think I rented it and I was like, why is this a thing? 3D, I was like, nope, I'm done. I didn't watch the one after that with the whole I Speak for the Dead. I seen the trailer and heard that and I was like, no, thank you. And now with Spiral, it's just like, I wonder when they're going to realize that cash cow is spitting out dust. When are we going to stop doing this? I know sequels are lucrative because there are a lot of people that hate watch. I mean, hate watching, hate following, hate is just a good motivator for some people. But I think we need to like ebb it down so that we could stop having 13 chapters of the same horror story. Looking at you, Jason. So we can stop having reboots of A Nightmare on Elm Street because I'm sorry. I don't want to see anybody but Robert Englund in that role. I don't care. I don't care if it makes me old. I don't care if it makes me stubborn. Every other person who has tried to play Freddy Krueger has not hit that mark for me. So I am not interested in a new fresh face on Nightmare on Elm Street. The thing that made Nightmare on Elm Street as popular as it was is because it was so totally 80s and cheesy. I don't think you can recapture that magic. And I don't want to see them try when they can write better and newer for our time horror. But you gotta open up those doors. You gotta let more than people who are grandfathered in because they know somebody. Stop being afraid to let some real diversity in, and you're gonna see that cash flow come in. Or you could keep churning out these stale ass reboot sequel craps and watch people just be like, you know what? I'm either going to pirate this or not watch it at all. Because I'm at that point. There is not too many movies outside the Marvel. I'm not going to lie. I'm kind of looking forward to a lot of the Marvel titles for now. But other genres, y'all ain't grabbing me no more. I don't want to come out of my pockets for reboots of series that should have died years ago. Or not even died. Should have just stayed where you can watch them in their classic form. I don't want to see Michael Myers no more. I've done watched that man get his head cut off. I've watched him burned alive. It is unrealistic that this motherfucker keeps coming back. And I don't care if you call him the Shape. I don't care what kind of Celtic origin, boogeyman story you want to give him. I'm no longer interested. I would rather see Laurie have a movie where she mentally pieces herself back together. No Michael Myers. Just a story of her getting her shit together would be way more entertaining for me than to watch her dodge that psycho again. But Hollywood doesn't get it. They just keep this weird, crappy, formulaic stuff, and it's because they're afraid to move away from the default. I'm sorry. I don't need a guy like Michael Myers to find certain white men scary. All I got to do is live in America where they have access to firearms and state legislators who want to allow them to open carry whether they deserve to or not. That to me is more scary than anything Hollywood could churn out. And I'm sorry, the whole Jason thing no longer resonates because it doesn't seem fair that a special needs kid who died to negligence is treated like an antagonist. I just think the stuff that we used to get away with in horror, we need to shift away from that because there are way scarier things out there. You know, I honestly don't get why people don't understand how problematic this nonsense is now. It's not okay to say somebody who just is different is a bad guy. You know, or that all sociopaths become psycho killers. Because if that was the case, y'all, like I said, I don't hide my mental illness from people. There'd be a lot of dead bodies around me. I am definitely diagnosed a sociopath. I've never hid that about myself. And I think people need to learn the difference between a sociopath who I have emotional attachment and detachment issues versus a psychopath who may have a higher elevated sense towards things that excite them. There is so much about mental health that I wish people would learn before throwing out blanketed terms or writing characters based on my life and not getting it right. Because so many people don't bother to understand, and it's very hard on people like me. I want to be more open with what I go through without feeling like people will go, oh, she's a danger. Oh, how is she doing this? And learn. We have the internet, y'all. Take time that you use to argue with people, look up your favorite TikToks, to just learn a little bit each day. I promise you, it's not painful. But I'm going to get ready to wrap this up. I want to thank you all for joining in. Once again, thank Axiom for, being my partner and being there for me. Capricorn, Silent, everybody who joins into the chat. Zahana, I appreciate y'all. I'm going to wrap this up. Hopefully sometime this week we will get the couple stream working. It just wasn't in the cards today. I'm also planning on getting the Witch's Path videos done again. There's a lot of stuff on the pipeline, and hopefully soon I will be an affiliate with Twitch. I'm looking forward to that because, like I said, I had to end my Anchor FM podcast because Stripe is a jerk. I'm not going to say any more than that because I don't know if they're ever going to let my money go, but it is what it is. But I'm going to wrap it up, and I will talk to you all next week, and I will talk to most of you on Twitter because I follow all of you, and I will probably watch a lot of you who stream. So see you all next week. Actually, I'll see you in a little bit. Love you.